afternoon, America. I'm Erick Erickson. Thanks for tuning in to the 4 things you need to know this afternoon. As always, we're cutting through the spin, getting to the truth behind today's headlines. Let's get right to it. The first story this afternoon, President Trump is taking the gloves off in his fight with the BRICS nations. Now, if you haven't been following this, BRICS is a block of countries. It stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But it's been expanding its influence, and the organization consists of now about 40 countries. They've even added some heavy hitters like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. These countries are openly challenging America's economic leadership. They're not shy about it. They want to reform global institutions and, frankly, undermine the U.S. dollar's role as the world's reserve currency being pushed by China. President Trump isn't having it. Over the weekend, he announced that any country aligning itself with what he calls the anti-American policies of BRICS will face an additional 10% tariff, no exceptions. He's drawn a line in the sand, making it clear the United States will not sit by while these countries try to chip away at our economic power. For years, these countries have manipulated their currencies, dumped cheap goods into our markets, and taken advantage of trade deals that hollowed out American manufacturing. The president's message is simple. If you're going to join a bloc that's actively working against American interests, you're going to pay a price. And let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just about economics. The BRICS push for a rival currency is a direct shot at the dollar. If they succeed, it would erode our economic strength and our ability to project power around the world. Trump's approach may ruffle feathers at the United Nations, and it's kind of tough stance that some countries who are our allies may react viscerally to, but it's the stance that the president needs to take. It's been missing from Washington for decades. The president put it bluntly, saying, quote, any country that aligns itself with the anti-American policies of BRICS will incur an additional 10% tariff. The policy will have no exceptions. Also, the president has raised tariffs on Japan and Korea today. Our second story is one that hits close to home for a lot of folks, especially those concerned about law and order. The Trump administration is doubling down on immigration enforcement with a particular focus now on New York City. ICE has been ordered to expand efforts to detain and deport illegal immigrants, especially in so-called sanctuary jurisdictions. Now, New York and other blue cities have spent years passing laws to shield illegal immigrants from deportations. They've barred ICE from making arrests even at courthouses. The Trump administration is fighting back, suing New York over the restrictions and threatening to withhold federal funding from cities that refuse to cooperate. Now, here's the kicker. Trump has directed ICE to deliver what he calls, quote, the single largest mass deportation program in history. He's not mincing words. He wants ICE to focus on cities where millions of illegal immigrants live, and he's making it clear the days of looking the other way are over. Now, let's be clear about what's happening here. The left's sanctuary policies aren't about compassion. They're about political power. Democrats see illegal immigrants as a voting bloc and a way to reshape the Electoral College, expand the welfare state, and reshape the electorate as a whole through the Electoral College. What about the rule of law? Well, what about the millions of Americans, many of them legal immigrants, who play by the rules and expect the government to do the same? The left doesn't care about that. Trump's aggressive enforcement is a return to common sense. It sends a message that America is a nation of borders and laws, not just open doors to anyone who can get here. Critics will say the policies are harsh, but the reality is that unchecked illegal immigration burdens taxpayers, strains our schools, strains our hospitals, and undermines the very idea of citizenship. The president put it clearly, quote, ICE officers are hereby instructed by notice of this truth to exert all efforts to achieve the critically important objective of delivering the largest mass deportation program in history, end quote. That's the kind of decisive action voters demanded. It's long overdue, and now it's happening. The third story is one that's been simmering for years. One I talked about on radio today, the Jeffrey Epstein saga. Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Trump administration had promised a full accounting of Epstein's network, including the release of a so-called client list. For months, we've been told tens of thousands of videos and documents were about to drop, exposing the powerful people who enabled Epstein's crimes. But now the Justice Department and the FBI are saying no such list exists. No further files are going to be released. The official finding remains that Epstein died by suicide, and most of the material is either already public or sealed to protect victims. It's a gut punch for those who are told there were answers coming. The DOJ's reversal has only fueled speculation and suspicion of a cover-up in a two-tier justice system, one where the politically connected skate free while ordinary Americans face the full force of the law. It's hard not to be frustrated when promises of transparency turn into a Washington whitewash, except the truth is, a lot of grifters spent a lot of time lying to the public, and members of the Trump administration bought into those lies until they were brought into the administration where they could examine the evidence directly. They found out what many of the victims' own lawyers have said for years. There never was a list. There never was all of this documentation and flight manifests and things like that. And a lot of the claims were simply not true. But you've heard them for so long, it's going to be hard for people not to believe the Trump administration is telling the truth. The fourth and final story this afternoon comes from the border, a place where the stakes are high. In McAllen, Texas, a 27-year-old man armed with a rifle and tactical gear opened fire at a U.S. Border Patrol facility this morning. He was shot and killed by law enforcement after injuring at least one police officer. The shooter, Ryan Lewis Mosqueda, attacked the Border Patrol annex with an assault rifle. Police found additional weapons and ammunition in his vehicle. His motive is still unclear. I think we can probably guess what it was, and the FBI is investigating. One McAllen police officer was shot in the knee and is recovering. Two other officers were also injured. The attack's a stark reminder of the dangers faced by law enforcement at the border, where the threat environment has only grown more volatile in recent years as the left has convinced themselves these are Nazis operating concentration camps, thanks to the rhetoric on TV news. The left downplays the risks at the border, focusing instead on the plight of migrants. The incidents like this underscore the need for strong border security and real support for the men and women who every day put their lives on the line. These aren't Nazis operating concentration camps. They're law-abiding American citizens serving as ICE agents, removing illegal immigrants from the country. They're not supposed to be here anyway. A porous border isn't just an immigration issue either. It's a national security issue. The Border Patrol is on the front lines. They deserve the resources and political backing to do their job safely. As McAllen Police Chief Victor Rodriguez says, incidents like these make us realize we're to always be on guard to keep our community safe. Those are the four things you need to know this afternoon. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast and our YouTube channel. It helps us grow the show and grow the content. I'm Erick Erickson. Until next time, please stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, please keep the faith.